We're going to be writing and evaluating nth roots. What the heck is an nth root? Well, if you have a square root, it has this little invisible 2 here, and I guess n would be equal to 2, the index, I guess you could say. If you have a cube root, well, n equals 3. If you have a fourth root, then n equals 4, and obviously you could go on forever, so we just call it the nth root, where n is n. Okay. So down here, this is a way you can kind of think about it. If this is your first time seeing this, just a reminder, today I actually asked my students to make note cards out of this information right here, just to kind of keep it fresh on your brain, because it's easy to look at this, or let's say these two, and start to confuse them, because it's like, wait a second, what did we do again? And I mean, you can see how these are all similarly numbered, right? Over here it gets a little bit differenter, but, you know, pause this if you need to pause it. Check that out. So, like I said, what we're going to do here is n is 3, and what we're going to do is find the indicated real nth root of a. So, n is 3, and negative 27 is right here. If you don't just see it right away, which is definitely possible, then what you need to do for all of these is start to factor them. So the way that I factor this one is that I do the prime factors. I try and think of the smallest prime numbers I can that go into it, like 3. Now, as some student pointed out today, this number has absolutely nothing to do with this number. I'm only dividing this by 3 because it's divisible by 3. If, let's say, it had been the third root of 144, well, then I would have done 144 divided by, if I was doing prime factorization, 2. And notice how that has nothing to do with 3, so to speak. So back over here. 27 divided by 3 is 9, and 9 can be divided by 3, gives us 3. And here's the beauty of this. We're looking for triples. We're looking for cubes. So there's 1, 2, 3. That is a cube. Okay, so this is going to go out, and there will be nothing left behind. So 3 is out. Now here's the thing. We need to hold up, because that says negative 27. Well, if I had factored out a negative 3, I would have had a positive 9, right? Well, I could take out a double negative. Like a negative 3 would have given me a negative 3 here. Like dividing 9 by negative 3 would give me that. So check this out. The idea is that negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3 is equal to negative 27. And that's why the answer is going to be negative 3. Okay? The cube root of negative 27 is negative 3. Let's slide over here and do this one. The fourth root of 16. So you have the option of doing prime factors, or you could do larger factors if you like. For example, I know that this is 4 times 4. That doesn't help me so much because I'm looking for groups of 4. I'm not looking for 4s. I'm looking for groups of 4. So check this out. 2 times 2. Oh, look. These are prime factors of 16. 16 equals 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. So that's a group of 4. That's going to go out. So the answer here is just 2. Again, I kind of like doing this little version right here. I'd have said 2 and 8, and that's 2 and 4, and that's 2 and 2. And look, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a group. It's going to go out. Okay? Again, this 4 has nothing to do with this 2. This 4 has nothing to do with this 4. Okay? Let's check out the next one. Really, this is just now, hey, let's practice it. And it's a great practice because we have negatives here, and a negative here. And we're going to have some interesting outcomes. Kind of like we had here. But let's check this out. This is negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. that gives me -8. And in fact, how did you do that? Well, the cube root of 8, the regular old cube root of 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. That's 8, so the answer would just be 2. Well, here we have negative, negative, negative is going to give you negative, so the answer is -2. The answer is -2, okay? Now, on B, the answer is also -2. And you're like, well, okay, I guess. Check it out. I literally just said the cube root of 8 is 2, right? And check this out. We have the negative cube root of 8. That's why it's -2, okay? Now we have the fourth root of 16. In fact, I don't see it. These two are exactly the same, okay? 16, as we just did up here, I mean, the fourth root of 16 is 2. So really, I don't need to do a lot of explanation on that one. This is 2, okay? But now we run into D. D is no solution. Because what happens is we're looking for a fourth root of -16. Well, if you look here, with the cube root, it was no problem because a negative times a negative, well, here, let's do this. A negative times a negative, well, that would be positive, right? Times a third negative gives us a negative, right? Well, what if we had multiplied it by a fourth negative? We would be back to positive. So in this scenario, the index is going to control a little bit of how we get our answers, whether they're going to be positive, whether they're going to be negative. So this is why it's no solution, because we can't do this and get -16. I'll explain it one more time. Negative times a negative is positive. Times a third negative, we're back to negative. So here I'll do this, positive, negative, but then times a fourth negative, we will be back to positive, and we can't get that. And so you might think, well, okay, we'll just make the answer, 2 then. Well, we couldn't do that because of like the order of operations. This negative is on the inside of the exponent. Now, if it were on the outside, like right here, that would be okay. So, for example, if it was -16 to the 1/4 power, yeah, that's easy. That's -2 because this negative was outside to begin with. And we already said the cube root of 16 is 2. Evaluate 16 to the 3/4 power. 16 to the 3/4 power is really 16 cubed to the 1/4 power. Another way you could look at it is 16 to the 1/4 power cubed, and that actually might make it a little simpler. In fact, the way I kind of explained this in class, it probably would have been maybe simpler if I'd gone this route first. So let me go the slightly more, what the heck are you talking about route. 16 cubed is really 4 times 4 cubed, and that's really 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 cubed, right? And if you're like, oh, I'm starting to see what the heck is going on. Well, this 3 can go in here, or we could just ignore that. But here this is exactly what I did in class. That's a 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. And if I am looking for the fourth root of that, I'm looking for groups of 4. Here's a group of 4, so what will go out is 2 to the 3rd power, okay? So technically speaking, I just found the answer. It's 2 to the 3rd, which is 8. So the answer to that thing is 8. Now, if you're like, okay, very lost, very confused, what happened, I'll start again, is we started here. I looked at just 16 cubed, and there's this invisible, I'm going to write it in this color blue, there's this invisible 1/4 on each one of these steps. So by the time that I get here, this next step is actually the fourth root of all of this, okay? And if, again, you're like, I'm very confused, remember the fourth root of regular 16, not 16 cubed, the fourth root of regular 16 was 2 because it was 2 times 2 times 2. And there was our, like, group of 4, and so it goes out as 2, okay? Let me show you one other look at this that might feel a little bit better. How about if we just did, I was zooming in and then it zoomed out. How if we just did the fourth root of 16? Well, then we would go, oh, well, that's 2. And then he's still out there. 2 cubed. Oh, it's 8. So that is probably how we should have approached this one. My bad for not doing it that way first. Either way, we could have made that work. In fact, let's try it on this next one. 27 to the 4/3 power. So what if we did 27, the cube root of 27 to the 4th power? Well, the cube root of 27, did we do that already? Let's just go back and look. Yeah, we did the cube root of negative 27 and we got 3. So if you're like, but why is that? Well, because 3 times 3 times 3, if you were to take the cube root of that, it's 3. 3 would go out. So it would be 3 to the 4th power, okay? And that is, okay, 3 times 3 is 9, times another 3 is 27, times another 3 is 81. So the answer to this is 81. Now, if you're thinking, I'm again pretty lost on this one, the idea is we broke this into 2 separate powers. 1/3 here, 4th here. We took the cube root of 27, which is just 3. In fact, there's the cube root right there. I didn't draw my 4th root there. I guess I could put that back on there. There's the 4th root. So this is what we end up getting, which is what we wrote right up here. Yeah? So 3 to the 4th power is 81, and that's why the answer is 81. So that's all I've got to say about all this. We have an assignment over it, our online assignment. If you have questions over it, let me know. This is another thing that was on Schoology that you can check out. Check out the next video for some help on the Schoology, the Big Ideas assignment. See ya.